So guys, the latest episode of The Bad Batch dropped yesterday, which means we will be continuing our weekly series where I break down and give my thoughts on the episode. I know for the most part I've been uploading these videos on Friday, the actual day that the episode goes live, and this week's video is actually going up on Saturday, and that is not a mistake. I did that intentionally. I just thought it might be easier for some of you guys to watch this video since we will be going into spoilers, and that way you get loads of time to watch the episode and then come here and then watch this video. So make sure to let me know what you guys feel about that. Nothing's set in stone. I can upload these on Friday or Saturday. It's all up to you guys. Anyways, as usual, these videos are a little bit different from the ones that I regularly make. They're a little bit less scripted and a little bit less structured. It's just me talking and giving my thoughts. Also, just because of the way these episodes are structured, there's no way I can talk about them without spoiling them. So this is your spoiler warning. If you guys haven't seen episode 4 of The Bad Batch, make sure to watch that first, then come back here. Anyway, so there's your spoiler warning. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So episode 4 is called Cornered, and the whole point of this episode is to introduce Fennec Shand, who is played by Ming-Na Wen. For any of you who have watched The Mandalorian Season 2, which I'm assuming is a lot of you guys, we are already pretty familiar with her character since she is such an important part in The Mandalorian Season 2. Anyways, I really like the fact that she's even in this show. Connecting all these new Disney Plus series makes the entire Star Wars universe just feel so much more connected. Having all these callbacks and cameos may start to feel a little bit Marvel or MCU-like, but honestly, I think it's a good thing and it's a step in the right direction. With such a large universe, you're always going to have characters jumping around from different media, and I think they handled Fennec Shand really well here. One thing that I did really appreciate was the fact that they didn't tone her character down or anything like that for this show. Like in general, this episode was feeling a little bit childish, which is perfectly fine since this is an animated series. But then Fennec shows up out of nowhere and starts to throw dudes out of moving vehicles, and then she even blasts a cop right in the chest, which helps remind you that the tone of this show is supposed to be dark. We got to see a lot of that in the last episode with Crosshair and everything, and this episode wasn't nearly as dark as that, but it did still remind us of the overall tone of the show with those action sequences. Also, it does seem like Fennec has a bit of a soft spot for Omega. Although she is hunting her for a bounty, she does seem a little bit protective of her. Like the way she tells her to tuck and roll and everything, she's starting to teach her how to steal food. She does seem to care about her a little bit, and I think that's a nice thing to see, especially since we know that she does end up being one of the quote-unquote good guys in The Mandalorian Season 2. So it's nice to see that her good side has always kind of been there a little bit, especially since bounty hunters are typically very cold. Anyway, she does look great in animation here as well. I think they captured the look of Ming-Na Wen perfectly, and I also can't wait to see how big of a role she'll play in the upcoming Boba Fett series and later in this season of The Bad Batch. Who knows, maybe we'll even see some connections between this show and the upcoming Boba series. I think that would be pretty cool. Anyways, moving on here in this episode, we are also introduced to a new location in the Star Wars universe, that being Pantora. Now, originally from the trailers for this show, I thought this place was going to be Coruscant. Like in the trailers, we got to see Hunter riding around on a speeder bike, which actually happened in this episode, but originally I thought that was going to be Coruscant. So that really does add up, especially since it would make no sense for them to be going to Coruscant, which is the heart of the Empire. I do love the way this planet looks though. It has a very artificial yet also natural feel to it. It kind of reminds me of a combination between Coruscant and Mos Eisley, with like the large docking circular areas, but there's also so much natural wildlife to it as well, so it's a very unique looking planet in the Star Wars universe, and I think it's a nice addition. It was also great to see so many familiar aliens and vehicles and everything, since it does help so much with the world building for this show. Now for the actual Bad Batch members themselves here, they were all pretty great as usual, but the one standout here to me was Echo, who finally got to step up a little bit more. He actually had something to do here, and they gave him some unique elements to his personality by playing jokes around him being this half man, half droid cyborg. It really does help separate him from Tech, since they were feeling a little bit redundant to me. Like Tech has always been the tech guy that fixes things, but then Echo was also doing some similar stuff to that as well. So they kind of felt a little bit too similar here, but now he's like his own separate thing being a cyborg. So it just adds another layer to his personality to help differentiate him from the rest of the Bad Batch. Also, his disguise suit looks pretty cool here. I've always been wondering about how they're going to continue to wear their clone trooper armors throughout this entire season, especially as we get further and further from the Clone Wars. Their suits are gonna have to change, but the thing is, their suits look so awesome, and part of me just doesn't want them to change at all. But who knows, whatever they change into, I'm sure they're gonna look really cool as well. Another point that I did want to mention about Echo was that his entire arc with the droids and fixing the ship did make him feel detached from the main plot of the episode. Like everyone is out here trying to save Omega and everything, and then all Echo is really doing is rounding up these droids and going to fix a ship, which was a very minor part of this episode's plot. I don't really know what it is, it just feels like Echo throughout this entire show has felt like the biggest side character, and that's kind of weird to think about since going into this show, he was the character that we were all attached to the most. I don't know what it is, he just feels a little bit unimportant right now. So I'm hoping that changes and we'll start to see him do bigger and more important things each episode. Now, other than Fennec, this episode did feel a little bit redundant in a way. It was a similar issue that we've seen before of Omega getting herself into trouble since she hasn't really been around in the world, and Hunter doesn't really know how to protect her since parenting is kind of new to him. Like, it's completely fine having a couple of episodes based around a similar story arc. Like, this episode did feel a little bit similar to the second episode where we saw Omega get attacked by that creature and then Hunter came in to save her. Like, it's completely fine having a couple of episodes based around a similar story arc, but I'm hoping the next few episodes start to delve into the importance of Omega and start to give us a glimpse at the bigger picture of this season's plot. Like, I think we all get it by now, Omega is young and kind of helpless, but has potential to be a lot more, and then Hunter is very protective of her. Maybe I'm just not used to the whole 16 episode seasons thing, so I'm kind of expecting it to move a lot faster than it is. Who knows, maybe all these 8 episode series are starting to get to my head and I'm just expecting too much. Either way though, I still think the important thing about Omega is that she will be force sensitive. I know there's a lot of conversation about her having all the abilities of the Bad Batch members, but I don't think it's going to be that. I really want her to be force sensitive. But the real important thing about this episode is that it shows us that Omega has some value since there are bounties on her head. Every TV series or movie or whatever it is has a main goal or motivation that kind of keeps you intrigued. Like, usually you know what the characters are working toward and what they're trying to achieve, and that helps you stay interested in the overall plot. Like, for example, in The Mandalorian, it's all about getting Grogu to his people. That's like the main purpose of the show, and it drives the entire plot. And now this show is starting to tease its main goal for its characters, because so far it's just been about to survive, which isn't bad or anything. I just think there are more interesting plot lines to go with. So I'm hoping these next couple of episodes start to ramp things up a bit and give us something a little bit more interesting. Also, I did want to mention this. Did any of you guys notice the green speeder that Hunter was using in this episode? I could be wrong on this, but it really does look like the one that's included in the Bad Batch shuttle set, and I think that would really suck since it would make that speeder a little bit unimportant, and it would just mean the price was inflated even more than it needed to be. So hopefully that speeder does return and is a little bit iconic, otherwise it would have been kind of a waste. Also, the Bad Batch shuttle itself continues to look blue in some scenes and then gray in others, so who really knows if those LEGO designers got it right. Anyways, I really did enjoy this episode, but I am hoping the next episode does pick up the pace a little bit, because these last few episodes have felt a little bit world-buildy and just not as important to the main storyline of the show. Like, in the next episode, I'd really like to see Crosshair and the Bad Batch have some kind of confrontation, or maybe start to go into the importance of Omega, or just have Rex show up. Any of these things would add a lot more value to these episodes, since it is feeling a little bit slow. I did still enjoy the episode though, and it's probably my third favorite so far. But that pretty much does it for my thoughts on episode 4 of the Bad Batch. Before you guys head out, make sure to let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode. How'd you guys like the inclusion of Fennec Shand in this show, and what do you guys think is going to happen with Omega? All the theories and speculation and thoughts, leave it all down in the comments below. Also, make sure to let me know how you guys are enjoying the Bad Batch series so far. But that is pretty much going to do for me, guys. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.